Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this tutorial series, we are building this job board application using Next.js. And in the previous video, I showed you how to get the jobs from the database. So if you open the console, you can see that the jobs are displayed over here in this console log. Now in this video, I'll show you how to add this job data to a UI. So here we can see that the job data is displayed in this manner over here. So we will design this in this video. Let's get started. So here's the source code, and we can see that we are getting the jobs using this get jobs function. And if you open this, we can see that this is a server action, and we are just console logging the jobs over here. Now before getting started with the UI, let's make a correction to our code. So if you go to schema.ts file, here we can see that this is jobs table.infer insert. So for the insert, we need to type new job, and for infer select, we need to type job. So this is the fix that we need to do from the previous video. Right now what we will do is we'll create a file called JobFeed. So let's go to components, and in that we have features, and in the features let's go to homepage, and here let's create a file called JobFeed.tsx. and in here, first of all, let's go ahead and type export default function JobFeed, and let's return a div, and let's type JobFeed over here. Now let's add this to our page.tsx file. So let's go to this main page file. Now here after the hero section, let's go ahead and create a section, and in that let's create a container. So let's import it from components UI container, and in this container we'll create a div, and here let's go ahead and create an h2, and let's add this text latest opportunities. So let's copy this, let's create an h2 and add the text over here. Now let's add some classes to this h2. So let's type class name, let's set the text size to 2XL, let's type font semi bold. So this is how it looks. Let's go to the div, and let's add some classes over here. Let's type margin bottom of 6. After this, let's import the job feed component. So let's type job feed. Let's import it from components features homepage. So here we can see job feed is being displayed over here. Now first of all, let's add the screen where no jobs are present. So let's go back and let's go to the job feed component, and here first of all let's create a const and let's call it jobs. Now let's set it to an empty array, and here is type if there is no jobs or jobs dot length is 0, then we'll just go ahead and return a div. In this, let's create an h2, and let's type no jobs found, and let's create a paragraph. Let's type there are currently no job postings available, please check back later. And now if we go back to our website, we can see that it says no jobs found. Let's add some classes over here. So let's type class name, text to Excel, font semi bold, and for the div, let's type class name, text center, text gray 500 for the color. Let's type margin top of 8. Let's also add some margin bottom. Let's type 8. I think we can type 16. Well, that looks all right. But now for the actual job cards that we see over here, we'll create another component. So let's go to the components folder, and let's go to job, and here let's create a new component called JobCard.tsx, and here let's type export default function JobCard, and here we'll get the job. So let's type job over here, and the type of it will be job card props. So we just create it right now, and let's return a card, and let's import it from components UI card. So this is a ShadCN component. So now let's create this job card props. So let's type interface job card props, and let's type job, and let's set the type to job, and let's import it from lib schema. So if you go to the schema.ts file, we can see that we are exporting this job type. So we are using that over here for the job card props. But now let's go back to the job feed, and here when we have job postings, then we'll just go ahead and return a div, and we'll just loop through all the jobs. So let's type jobs.map. Let's call each of them job, and let's set the type to job. Let's import it from lib schema, and here we'll just return a job card. So let's type job card. Let's import it from job card, and here we need to pass the job. So let's type job equals job. So we are getting this job from here, and let's also pass a key because each of the items inside the map requires a key. So let's set the key to job.id. So we also get an ID from the job. Right now here for the jobs, let's go ahead and change this to get the actual jobs. So let's type const jobs is equal to await. Let's use the get jobs function that we created. So it is in actions, job actions. And since we are using await, we need to change this function into an async function. And I think we need to close one of these parentheses over here. So let's close this. Right now, if we go back to our website, we can see that we have latest opportunities displayed over here. Let's also add some classes to this. So let's type class name, display of grid, gap of 6 between the elements. And for medium or larger screens, let's type grid calls to 2 so that there are 2 columns. And let's also add a margin bottom of 16. Right now, let's create the job card component. So let's go over here. Now in the card component, let's use the card content. So let's also import it from components UI card. And in this card content, let's create a div. And let's create an S3. And here let's add the job title. So now if we go back, we can see that the title is displayed over here. So let's style this. Here for the S3, let's type class name. Let's type font semi-bold, text of large, leading tight. This is the line height. And this is how it looks. Now this should be a link. So let's go ahead and wrap this inside a link component. And let's import it from next link. So let's add this S3 inside the link. And here let's type sref. And for the sref, I'll just type backticks /jobs /job ID. So let's type $ curly braces job.id. So now if we go ahead and hover over this, we can see that the link is displayed at the bottom. So we have jobs / the ID. And this way we can create dedicated page for the single jobs. So if I click on, for example, senior front-end developer, we can see the details of this job is displayed over here. So we have this dynamic page for each of the jobs. Now let's go ahead and add the company name. So let's go outside the link and let's create a paragraph tag. Let's type job.company. So now here we have the company name displayed. Let's add some classes. So let's type class name, text of small, text color to muted foreground, margin top of 1. And then we need to add this map pin icon and this location. So let's go outside this div. Let's create another div, and here let's create a div, and here we will have an icon called map pin. Let's import it from Lucid React. Let's also type class name, and let's set the height to 4 and the width to 4. And let's create a span, and here let's type job.location. So here we have the job location. Let's have the icon and the text one next to the other. So let's type class name, display of flex, items center, gap of 1.5. Now let's add all of this inside a div. So here let's create another div. Let's add it as the container. And let's add some classes over here. So let's type class name, display of flex, gap of 4. And let's type flex call. So now we can see we have this space between the elements. But now we need to add the job type. So here let's create another div. Let's copy these class names from here. And in this div, first of all, let's add the briefcase icon from Lucid React. Step class name, h4 and width 4. Let's create a span and let's type job.job type. So here we have the job type. Let's bring this one next to the other. So here for this div, let's type class name, display of flex, flex wrap so that it can wrap to the next line, and items center, gap of 3, text of small and text muted foreground for the color. So here we have the location and the job type. Let's also add the job salary. So let's go outside this div let's type if job.salary is present, let's type ampersand ampersand. Then we'll just go ahead and create a span, and here let's type job.salary. Now we are doing this because salary is optional in our form, and if we go back, we can see that the salary is being displayed over here. Now for this, let's go ahead and change the text color. So let's type class name, text color to foreground, and font medium for the font weight. So this is the salary. Right now we need to display the job experience level and also the date. So let's go back to our code and let's go outside this div. Let's create another div. Now here we will use a badge from ShadCN. So let's type badge over here. And I think we haven't installed it. So first of all, let's install badge. Let's go to the terminal and here let's type npx ShadCN at latest add badge. Right, we can see that the badge is installed. Now let's go ahead and use this. So let's type badge. Let's import it from components UI badge. And here let's type job.experience level. So now if we go back, we can see that the badge is displayed over here. Let's change the variant. So let's type variant. Let's set it to secondary. Right now the last thing we need to do is we need to display the date. So here, let's go outside the badge. Let's create a span. And here let's type new date. And here let's type job.posted at. Now these are all the columns that we have inside the job table in our database. So let's type to local date string, and here let's type ENIN for the first argument. And for the second one, let's type day. Let's set it to 2-digit, and let's type month. Let's set it to short. So this is the date format. And for year, let's type numeric. Now if we go back, we can see that the date is displayed over here. Let's also add some classes to this. So for the span, let's type class name, text size to small, text color to muted foreground. And we want these two to be to the extreme left and right sides. So for that, we need to go to the container and let's type class name. Let's set it to display of flex, items center, justify between. So now we can see that these two are on the extreme left and right sides. So in this way, we have added the job details to the UI. Now let's go back to the main page. Now we can go ahead and delete these 2 lines of code because we are already fetching the jobs inside the JobFeed component. So we are doing that over here. So now if we add more jobs to the database, it will display it over here inside this home page. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.